Hello, everybody. It's a Friday night chat with Al, and I have two special guest hosts. In fact, I feel like the guest host, and these are the regular hosts. Todd from Filsinger Games and Uncle Dave Little, FOC member for life, friends of the channel, friends of the community. Uncle Dave Little there, Todd there. Todd, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Joerchel?
Joerchel, that's how I pronounce it. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Excellent.
But I go to any pronunciation. There's a ton of them out there.
All right, I didn't. That's why I just said Todd. I was like, let's not butcher that. Dave knows I have butchered many a hockey player's name. So
I can only imagine a hockey player. Yes.
Nothing better than Russian hockey player's name. I have no clue how to say. Let's just call him Ruski number 1. Anyway, little.
But ID Jester is still the king.
Oh, ID Jester
of botched last names.
Gubaza.
Mark Gubaza.
He does that on purpose, though. People don't. I mean, I believe so. So we have Carl Zillow is here. I believe
Carl Zillow is here. Nice. Hey, Carl.
Hey, Carl.
He was walking the dog. I don't mean like that was a. Remember walking the dog with the yo-yo? Are we all old enough to remember?
Yeah.
It was the only trick I could do with the yo-yo was walking the dog. I tried that other one, smacked myself in the head. That ended my yo-yo days. Dave Gardner says, I'm still hot. You're a sexy guy, Dave Gardner. Uncle Dave. It is 91 degrees in Massachusetts still at 9:09 p.m.
Wow.
JD the Dragon is here. Check out that wonderful channel. Of course, Dave Gardner's wonderful channel. Carl Zilla, back from the dog walk, says howdy. So we're going to start with Uncle Dave Little first, and then we'll go to Todd. Dave, tell us, if someone doesn't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself, Dave, and your channel, which is a link provided on the page and in the chat for Dave Little's YouTube channel. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel and love sports games. My favorite sports game of all is Legends of Wrestling by Filsinger Games. And so I have been broadcasting that. And it's so much fun to be on here with Al, because Al was the guy that got me started doing YouTube. I would tune into Al's channel and Al would say, Dave, man, you got to get a channel. You got to get online. You got to get stuff going. And I said, great, because there are so many great channels on YouTube and everybody does baseball. And as much as I love baseball, I thought, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do my favorite game of all, Filsinger Legends of Wrestling. And that's where the channel began. And, since then I've added NBA. I've done a little baseball on the side. Of course, my Sunday morning devotional videos and a little bit of everything here and there. But it is great to be on the Filsinger Games edition of the Al Chat, because that's the game that got it all started for me, and the guy who got me into YouTube broadcasting. So it's all coming together right here.
Well, thank you very much, Uncle Dave Little, who got me into Filsinger Games Legends of Wrestling. As I was telling Todd offline in our little pre-chat, words we're not supposed to use. I won't do it. Never mind. I was talking with Todd offline. It was Dave Little who I watched the game and I watched it. I said, my God, I love this. The artwork, again, I'm just going to go back to it before we get to the artwork. And this is the newest set, and Todd will tell you a little more about it in a second, but it is what's called a Hall of Fame set. And I have to also say, customer service for Filsinger Games is outstanding. And
you're looking at him.
Poor Todd.
You're looking at Mr. Customer Service right there.
Who is this freaking nutbag? I'm like emailing questions like, Todd, I want the Inoki card. The last email I sent, and he kind of gave me the hint that it was going to be coming up. I said, Todd, I will send you the card stock. I'm not going to reprint it. I'm like, just print it up for me. I will pay for it. And he's like, I think you'll be all right. You'll be happy in a few weeks. Don't worry.
Just wait. Yeah. Because we had the old black and white version, right? And that
Yeah.
set sold out. So like Inoki hasn't been available for a while.
No. And we're going to get, now let's go to Todd, as I've babbled long enough. This is Todd Joerchel, Filsinger Games, from Filsinger Games. Fun game, highly, and I mean this in the nicest way, highly addictive, highly fun game. I play a lot of games, as everyone knows, PC on the tabletop. 2 games that are constantly on my tabletop. Glory Days Boxing, Anthony Crooks, and Legends of Wrestling. I have so much fun with this game, Todd.
That's
and,
great.
and it's just fabulous. The community's fabulous. I'm on the Facebook promoters page group.
Filsinger Games promoters.
Oh my!
Facebook
And I
page,
love reading all what everyone does. It's awesome, and it's just a really fun game. So I turn it over to you, Todd. Tell us whatever you want to tell us about. If you have a YouTube channel, I've seen. You have is there a podcast?
Yeah, there's a podcast. So we do a weekly podcast called Filsinger Games Roll Up.
Yeah.
Which that's what we kind of every week. Our host Sam Fain does that. Myself, I'm usually on there every week, and then Mike Molesky, who's our other. Mike and I kind of do a lot of the kind of behind the scenes stuff. Kind of running a lot of the stuff there. So we all do that weekly. It's not on YouTube, but we are highly thinking of adding it to YouTube in the very, very near future. But just because that's how a lot of people are consuming content like this these days, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think you are on a YouTube podcast also. I think I saw there's 2 gentlemen, but they talk more about the Legends of the Galaxy, the fictional wrestling set. And I think you were on. Maybe I'm wrong. I clicked by it one time and I listened for a little bit. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's 2 gentlemen.
Was it
they had a host?
Zach? Yeah.
Yeah, they had someone from Filsinger. I can't. Obviously, it was not you because you're looking at me like, no, it wasn't.
No, maybe I know Tom Filsinger, who's the founder.
It could have been. I just
too.
went by.
So
that was interesting. So there's a podcast.
Yeah.
You send me the link in the email.
Sure.
And what I'll do is I'll add it to the page later.
Perfect.
If I forgot to look for that or ask for that.
Yeah, you can also get it right off the FilsingerGames.com.
You got to have that link, because if you go online and you search for the Roll Up podcast, the first 2 pages are going to be about marijuana.
Excellent.
And you got to get down to about page 3 to get to the Filsinger. So yeah, put the link out there.
Put Filsinger Games Roll Up. That might get you a better maybe less marijuana references, unless well, this is the Rob Van Dam episode. Maybe that's the exception there.
Steve Tower, after further review, is here. He
says, Tower, got to meet Steve face to face last week.
Yep. He says, hello, Todd and Dave. Dave, it was great. So you guys met at the con. Awesome sauce.
At the PlayCon, the Play Games convention out in Denver.
Oh, very cool.
Was last week.
Carl, I'll send you the email again.
Yeah, I heard good things about Glory Days too. Just kind of seeing that comment there. I know Tim Dalton enjoyed, and I think Stu Lowry, who are on our Legends team, they always talk good things about that. So, to just kind of give you a little bit of background on Filsinger Games, just for those who are less familiar. So it's a card and dice wrestling game, very kind of reminiscent of Stratomatic games of the past. Each one of the different wrestlers has its own card, similar to kind of the Stratomatic games, where each player would have their card. There's offensive and defensive stats, some different charts as well. So as you kind of play through, you kind of go back and forth between offense and defense. Reversals happen. Occasionally you go on the charts. People have different ratings. There's the charts right there. And the really good thing is it's really simple to kind of pick up and start playing. But the really great thing is there's also just so many more things you can kind of add to it. You can do all sorts of different styles of matches, the tag matches and cage matches and any other type of thing. We just did a book last year that I think had about 100 different types of matches in it. So the amount of things you can do after you learn the base game is really the cool thing. And so you can either kind of play your own thing just by yourself against somebody else, or what a lot of people do is they do play out there it is, the Ringside Companion. They do kind of play out like their own promotion too, which is really where the creativity comes in.
You can do whatever you want. That's the brilliance. The difference, and I play many games, PC, card and dice, but the one thing with any card and dice game you can adjust it the way you want. Sometimes not with a PC game.
Yeah.
And so with this, I can do, I have my Bob Backlund against the Von Erichs. I've made the Von Erichs like ultimate bad guys just because I thought it'd be fun. Fritz was a bad guy to start with. It's kind of funny how he went from playing the evil German character to this beloved Fritz Von Erich. And I guess at one point, David, they were thinking about before he had his death in Japan, that they might have flipped him. I don't know. I read that. I don't know if it would have been like he would have been a good.
They were just so loved down in Texas. I can't. It would be tough to flip them at that point there. Yeah, maybe if they went to another territory.
No, maybe in Japan, like Andre, when Andre would go to Japan, he was a heel. So, but anyway, so Todd was talking about that book, the booklet. Now that has special matches, correct?
Yeah, right.
And there are many different, like, I don't know, like say steel cage, how you should play a steel cage match or a battle royal and things like that.
Battle royal, ladder match, tables match.
And as Todd alluded to, there's, the Legends of Wrestling, which is based on the sport of professional wrestling as executed by human beings.
Yes.
And then there's the companion game or the other game, which actually was the original game called Champions of the Galaxy, which is the fictitious, superhero, different planets, different powers, different species and all that. And the ringside companion is about half and half. Oh, so about half of these matches are stuff you would see in human professional wrestling, and then there's the Champions of the Galaxy half, which is, you zap your opponent with a, light beam or whatever. I don't play any Champions stuff. I'm strictly a Legends
or like
guy.
A cow
Todd
prod,
can tell you all
maybe?
about.
Well, yeah, there's like my futuristic weapons or something like that. There's like one match I remember called the Nightmare Matrix, where you have like this thing and like these different holograms kind of come in and interrupt your match. So there's different science fiction kind of elements.
And that's the fictional. Game, that is Champions of the Galaxy, correct?
Yeah. So Champions of the Galaxy is where kind of everything started. The Tom Filsinger, the creator, did that back in 1986. Originally, he pitched the game to the WWF at the time, and they instead decided to go with Milton Bradley and doing like that old board game there that kind of stunk.
Yeah, that game was not bueno.
It was not very good. Yeah. So instead, he decided to kind of create his own characters and do this, do the science fiction game, and that kind of took off and just got a big following from there. And that it's right now is in its. We just released the 52nd edition of the GWF, which is the main Champions of the Galaxy, but there's also other offshoots within the universe that kind of cover different things. Maybe there's like a storyline and certain people kind of left from there, but then you're kind of following that part of that storyline somewhere else. And some other people have contributed and written over the years. I had never written really anything. I've always been kind of more behind the scenes, kind of running more of the business stuff and running some of the fan conventions and stuff. But just this year, I kind of, myself and my co-host from the podcast, Sam, we took over kind of like the developmental for like the main federation. So like kind of the lower level guys and writing that, which has been kind of fun. So there's like a lot of things you can do there. We also do a lot of stuff with independent wrestling too. So if you're kind of almost anybody, like I say, like half the guys in WWE and AEW these days probably have a card when they're from their independent discs.
They pitched this game to the WWF probably was then, right?
Yeah.
And they turned it down.
Early mid 80s or so. Yeah.
Because this is such a fun game. Interesting. I think you guys did better off then. Because
I think it worked out for the best.
Because they would have. Yeah, I think it's a better thing that you did. My quick question: there are certain wrestlers. I'm just gonna. It has nothing with Inoki, right? So Filsinger Games has the rights to Antonio Inoki to use him in the game. In my layman's terms, is that?
Yeah, so we have permission to do a lot of these ones. Yeah, there's different agreements depending on different people.
So there are certain wrestlers, say like Superstar Billy Graham, Bruno Sammartino. They're not in the game because obviously permission has not been given. or they want whatever.
Right.
So my question, not that you guys, because again, the artwork is absolutely fabulous. I think besides the gameplay, which is so, it flows. Like it reminds me so much of Glory Days boxing. It flows. It makes sense. And I was telling Todd, I was speaking with Todd. I hate when I say telling. I was trying to think when I first started to play, oh, maybe I can tweak the fatigue. And then as I played more, I go, no, it's good.
Yeah, I think a lot of care has been taken into in kind of designing the cards. That we have a team that watches a lot of tape just to kind of get the essence of how the guy wrestled. Not only obviously the move sets that are on there, but also the style of wrestling. So somebody more fast paced, high hitting.
Yep.
You'll maybe have much more offense, but maybe a weaker defense. There's other guys who maybe take a lot of punishment, and so like their card stats will reflect that. We try to get that in there as much as we can, and also obviously the different levels of how well they perform. So a lot of time is taken into kind of making sure we get the right information.
I believe that. That is, there's absolutely the brilliance again of this game is this simplicity, but yet complexity. I don't know. Again, it's hard. It just flows. It makes sense. Now, there are some things like when someone's wrestling Andre the Giant. I actually went and I'd seen, like everyone who slammed Andre. So if the person actually slammed Andre when I play, they get an opportunity if it just comes off a slam off there, unless it's not the power factor kind of thing. But like Greg the Hammer Valentine was wrestling Andre in a tag match with, this was my favorite thing to put together. Probably this put me over the edge to buy the game. I said, Johnny Rods and Andre the Giant. The Giant and I think I called it the Giant and the Jobber. This would be a fantastic tag team because people would root for them. I just, and it was so much fun. And they beat the Dream Team, Greg the Hammer Valentine, and
Brutus Beefcake.
Thank you. I went brain dead for a second. And of course, you use Andre a little more than you use Johnny Rods, but he was getting his. It was actually.
But usually you start off with Rods. You try to get in there,
No, I actually start off with Andre. I might not be playing the game exactly.
Well, you can do whatever you
do whatever you want.
I start off with Andre, right? Yeah. And when Andre beats on a guy for a while, I'm like, okay. See, when I make a tag, this is just the way I play. If the guy's down and it's a level 3, sometimes okay, come on, Johnny, come in and hit him with that punch. It actually worked out one time. I was like, this is awesome. Because I could envision Johnny Rods coming off the turnbuckle, top rope, going to the outside of the ring because that's where he hits Brutus the Barber Beefcake, knocks him out. There's a 10 count. They upset them and they win. And it was just, but they didn't beat the Road Warriors because Johnny Rods got in there and they just beat the snot out of him. He could never make the tag.
Road Warriors don't allow the hot tag very often.
Yeah, it was very realistic. It was fun. Yeah. But
I was going to say, when you kind of mentioned like, I don't know if I'm doing it the right way. We have a saying at Filsinger Games, and it's up to you, promoter. So like it's really,
and I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. But anyway, that's one of the fun things you can do with this game. It's just really fun. Quick, now a couple of things. These sets, the newest Legends of Wrestling set.
Yep.
Is Hall of Fame set number 3.
Yep.
This is the newest Legend set.
Right. So we have our mainline Legend sets, and then the last 3 years we've been doing a set in conjunction with the George Tragos Luthez Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, which is Frank.
Frank is a big player of the game. I follow all the stuff he does on the promotional Facebook group page.
Yeah, he does a lot of stuff there. So we've been doing the last 3 years of working with the Professional Hall of Fame out in Waterloo, Iowa. We have a couple of guys who work on the Legends team.
It's a real Hall of Fame.
Yep, real Hall of Fame.
In case people don't know.
Yep. And they just had their induction ceremony 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Was the big induction ceremony. So I was out there for that. This is my first year going out there.
And these are, in the set, you have Inoki.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yep.
Shamrock.
Yep, he was a George Tragos award winner last year. Yep.
Mike Rotundo. I liked Mike Rotundo when he was with the. Do you remember the Varsity? And this looks
that's
like
the Varsity Club look right there. Yeah,
Varsity
absolutely.
Club.
Kevin Sullivan, Varsity Club.
Varsity
Yeah,
Club.
he just got inducted into the Hall this year. Fantastic guy. We got to
Don
talk to him.
Kernoodle. I didn't see much of Don Kernoodle because he wrestled mainly
Mid-Atlantic. He did a lot.
Yeah,
down in
I saw him
Carolinas.
later when we got cable TV and we were able to see different wrestling because where I was located, it was WWF.
Of course, yeah, same here.
Though my dad, God rest his soul, was a barber, he had all the wrestling magazines. And I would flip through. So I knew who Ric Flair was. I knew who were a lot of guys who you didn't really normally see in the area I live. Sergeant Slaughter.
That was one where, there was no doubt as to what reference pick we wanted to use for the artwork.
Yeah, that was because that's going to be one of my questions. How do you decide what you go with? Because some people are like, oh, I kind of like the other or a certain image. Mark Henry, who's in AEW now. He's an announcer and ambassador for AEW.
Yeah.
Dan Spivey, who's probably one of my favorite stories. My favorite story is when he beat the snot out of Adrian Adonis. If you haven't heard that story, go on YouTube. I'm not even going to do it justice. It's well worth the listen.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just mess with the wrong person. Because when he was doing jobs, we'll say, he is playing a part. He's definitely a tough human being, as most professional wrestlers are. But yeah,
he was supposed to get an award. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it there. But Brian Blair accepted on his behalf.
Awesome.
And that was the story he told. Was the
and I just have to say,
and you can see that story on YouTube told from about 8 different people's perspectives.
And it all comes out the same.
Yeah.
Adrian Adonis gets his ass kicked.
Yes.
Comes out a bloody mess.
I have fallen in love with these little dice.
Because the magic mini dice. Yes.
I'm telling you, I know I've fallen in love because I said I'm gonna use these and I'm like rolling them. I'm like, I don't like them. I gotta roll these. These give the feel because I can put the cards close and I can just roll it and it's I love the mini dice. The other thing.
Those are actually in our logo of our podcast as well. The little red and blue dice.
And I'm sorry, I forgot one because there was a female wrestler too, and I don't have many female.
Penny
Banner. Penny Banner, and she's also in that set.
Yeah,
I'm sorry about that, but the other great thing about Filsinger Games, the rule book. Not 14,000 pages. That will turn me off in 3 seconds. But it makes sense. Everything's explained out. There's examples. I like examples.
Yep.
So excellent job. And again, I'm sure if someone had a question, they go on the Facebook group page. You ask it or you send an email. But it's just such a fun game.
And anybody who's brand new, you can go to the FilsingerGames.com website. There's a page there called
and we're gonna
bring players get started, and from there you can download the instructions, download the charts.
And what he's talking about, and I provided what Todd's talking about. I provide the link to and we'll just show you real quick, and then we'll go back to the big screen. But let's share this real quick. You go to new players, get started, how to play, all kinds of create your own card characters. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so rules if you want to create your own characters, like that's a big thing. We kind of, we were kind of talking about this beforehand, which is, if you don't, guy you don't is not represented, doesn't mean you can't use them. You can create your own stats for him, and we kind of give you the right rules to do that.
And that's really cool. So we'll go back to that in a second, but that's what he's talking about. And it's FilsingerGames.com, link provided in the chat on the page, but FilsingerGames.com.
And there's also, if you go to that how to play, there's also a video on there that was commentated by Steve Tower there too. So
yes,
there
it is.
So yeah, if you want to get that's the basic rules, but then there's a more advanced rules with the fatigue and stuff like that as well. But yeah,
and
if it's Exall Jim Duggan, you know that Steve Tower's responsible.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So, but it's well done. Everything's well done with this. It is so easy to pick up, and we'll go back to that if you want to go through where's things to look at.
Sure.
The game is fabulous. Now, that is really cool that I just want to they pitched it to the WWF. They turned it down. I definitely feel that was a good thing. That was a good
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah.
And Anthony from Bleacher Bums Gaming, Glory Days, college football is out. SidelineStrategies.com. Wonderful game. Check it out. PDF, very reasonable price. SidelineStrategies.com. As he says, artwork is excellent. Who does it?
So our main artist for our Legends and Indies line is a gentleman, Warner Meek. He started out as he's a game fan and artist there, and started doing some different bootlegs for a lot of us at first, and eventually became a regular artist, mostly starting with our indie games, and then eventually became our Legends artist as well. He does all the artwork and all the coloring as well. He kind of mentioned he's a self-taught colorist, and he is absolutely amazing.
It's
really
amazing.
makes his artwork pop.
Great guy.
Awesome guy too. Yeah,
great. It's in the artwork. The gameplay is excellent. The artwork was a selling point, and this comes to a roundabout way of getting this question. Stratomatic baseball obviously has no rights to anybody. Right. Has it ever been thought of?
Mm-hmm.
And I know the answer. Yes, but no, it's not the way you do it. To take a wrestler, do the one side of the statistical card and not the artworort. Now, I already know the answer in my head. It's not, that wouldn't be Filsinger. That would be
right. Yeah, right. It's not the way we want to do it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is like, we want to make sure that we have the permission to do it, and certain times it's definitely become a little more difficult than maybe it was. The Legends game started in 2003, and at that point, there really wasn't like WWE Legends contracts, and like it really wasn't a big thing of kind of like all the older wrestlers kind of being involved in everything of modern day wrestling. And that's definitely obviously a lot different now. But we've gotten creative in ways of bringing in new folks into there. And obviously the partnership with the Hall of Fame the last couple of years has really paid off big and kind of helping us get that. The reason the other thing we've been doing with them, we do big charity auctions throughout the year and going into the year. And, we've helped raise a lot of money for the Hall of Fame as part of that. And with that, they've been helping us kind of get contacts with, being able to do cards for some guys too.
Pop's Review, who I'm going to be having on at some point in time in the near future, along with Carl Zilla, because they're big Filsinger fans and will talk wrestling with me as well as you guys. He says, can you make the promoter prime cards more obvious on the website?
No, I think it's a fair criticism there. So the promoter prime,
suggestion. Yeah,
there is sometimes when I'm looking for certain things. Like here, I got another one. I want to ask you offline, but I'll ask you now. When I first bought the game, you could buy single cards, the old ones, but I can't find that anymore. Maybe it's gone. Maybe you've done.
Yeah, we have some of them still left over. Yeah, I know there was a big changeover in some of the website there that we lost some of the stuff there, and a lot of those single cards weren't as popular, and there's so many other things that we have in there is kind of clogging it up, as far as what we have selling there. But we still have them. Okay. There's certain things that we still do have, but
my other question, real quick. You know how you had the original black and white set?
Yep.
And some of them have been put to color. Are those, just a question, there are some obviously I don't have, but again, and even for probably if I thought about it, now that I think about it, to pay just to get the ones I want is probably the same price to get the whole thing for $13. But is there because I'm just thinking about it, is there any thought process of maybe with that set, someone saying, well, I'd like Mr. Fuji, say, you know what I mean? Like if you didn't have the color version or something and you wanted the black and white version, are those part of the ones you buy singular?
Well, usually the single ones are more like the special edition cards. So
gotcha.
Like they're kind of the one-off special edition cards. And then the ones that are in the set, we usually don't break those up.
Don't break up. And I didn't think so. It's just something in my head, things I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Frank Wainscott says, love their customer service. Filsinger does not jerk you around. Absolutely.
That's Todd.
It is. I can never figure out which way to point.
Yeah,
you're looking the right way. You're looking the right way.
No, the customer service is excellent. The customer service is excellent. Carl Zilla has told me, let me just get back to the customer service. excellent. I don't know how else to say it. Very polite. There's
I'm a game fan too, you know. I want to make sure
other companies should learn. I won't mention the company's name.
Stratomatic.
I didn't say it. But you could send me. Everyone could send me the hate mail. And I like Stratomatic. Don't get me wrong, but customer service is excellent. Hats off. Everything is top notch with the game. Carl says the single cards are on page 2. Excellent. Of the Legends section. Great. Because that was fun to look through and pick, that's where I got Andre from.
Yeah.
And Johnny Rods, and I enjoy those cards. Those cards probably, because that was, like I said, that was in my head. I go, this is the tag team I want to make. The other fun thing is, you can pick guys who hated each other. You make them a tag team. All of a sudden, they're friends. It's your storyline.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever your heart desires.
You can recreate history, or you can make your own history. Whatever you want to do. Yeah.
So, Todd, when you play the game, do you do it in territory style, or do you just pick and say, I'm wrestling these guys against each other?
Well, I'm the exact opposite of Dave. I actually don't play the Legends very much at all. I mostly just play Champions of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so so Champions of the Galaxy. How do you play it?
So I play an ongoing storyline with that. So I have a whole set cards and kind of ongoing title histories and stuff like that.
And is it not, to me, and then we're going to get to Dave in a second, the funnest thing is coming up. Now, I don't know, again, Legends of the Galaxy, is there a built-in storyline?
There is, yeah. There's different storylines that are ongoing there.
Let me give you the outsider's perspective on Champions of the Galaxy.
Yes, I said Legends of the Galaxy. I'm sorry.
People who play Champions of the Galaxy are maniacs for it. They love it.
They love it.
They have custom T-shirts, and they have their characters all tricked out. And every summer we have a get-together that they call Galacticon. And Galacticon is where they release the yearly update for the Champions storylines. And in the official Champions of the Galaxy universe, who retired, who got injured, who turned on who are the new people. They release these things on Friday night, and the room goes silent for 2 hours because everybody is just fixated on reading every page of this book. They're just
could you
they're
say
so fast. It's like Christmas morning in the middle of the summer to get your new yearly update.
A live action comic book almost?
There's definitely a comic book element of it.
You know what I mean? Like a live action storyline?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah,
and there's and then there's also like the others I mentioned kind of before. There's the other offshoots of it, and they have their own storylines there. The one that myself and my co-host from the podcast Sam are doing, we're trying to experiment with a couple other things this year with that. So we're having we have once in a while online get-togethers, and we will play out matches through the online system, which I know we'll talk about. Yep. And different things that will happen there will affect the storyline that we're writing. So we just had a championship tournament. The person there is going to be the champion there. There's other matches that we're going to do in an upcoming one that will affect other storylines there. We're going to have, fans will create characters that we'll have to write into the storylines there too. So with that one, we try to get a lot more participation from fans, kind of having more of a little bit of a spin on it in that way. So it's fun that different ways that you can kind of approach it.
Mm-hmm. And the other cool thing the other cool story about Champions of the Galaxy, back in 2015 or 2014, I think, we did Todd and his crew put on a live event of the Champions of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And they put, characters from the Champions of the Galaxy universe, Thanos and Star Warrior, and I don't know who else.
Wolf and the Gladiators.
But they hired professional wrestlers to do these matches.
Yeah.
Chuck Taylor was the bad guy. Was he Thanos?
He was Thanos, yeah.
Orange Cassidy.
Chuck Taylor, the guy in AEW?
Yeah. And Orange Cassidy was the guy he wrestled. He was the good guy.
Cassidy and Chuck Taylor wrestled as Thanos and Star Warrior. And then John Silver and Alex Reynolds had parts in it, and
AEW guys. Yeah.
and it was just the
AEW
coolest thing I've ever seen
So-
to see those
And
characters come to life.
Who came up with that idea? That's awesome.
right here, yeah. So I mean, it was something
awesome.
I always wanted to see Champions of the Galaxy on my screen. So myself and my friend Jeff Guthers, we kind of, it was the year before we were at WrestleMania at the WrestleCon, the first ever WrestleCon in New Jersey in 2013, and we're like, oh, it'd be really cool to do this. And so we kind of came up with the idea. We wound up, we did a Kickstarter campaign that helped fund
Raise the
everything.
money.
Fund all the making of the costumes and hiring a lot of the wrestlers, and then we wrote the script, put it on. We have a DVD.
This is wow. I'm happy you told, because now I'm going to go in. How easy was it to deal with the? Again, I'm going to say AEW guys because they're in AEW. I'm sure they were independent then.
They were. A lot of them were with Chikara at that point.
Okay. How easy was it to deal with them?
Very easy, yeah.
That's awesome.
Honestly, yeah. We had Stevie Richards that was set to play one of the parts. There was an issue with his costume, and in the end, he decided not to do it, so we had to do a last minute thing and kind of wrote him out. But we wound up doing. Part of that, we actually did a set of game cards with all the guys in their characters in this set as well, so you can buy that set.
So again, this is awesome. This is why we do these chats. This is fun, and I only have you for another 17
you got
me.
I can go a little longer. It's all good.
Okay. Well, you don't. I don't want your wife to hate my guts.
No, it's okay. She's all right. I haven't gotten the text from her being like, "Where are you?" yet, so we're good. Yeah, I got some playtime.
Now they're gonna follow the storyline. Who wrote? Was it the script? Was it the storyline from the book that came? Is that what they did?
There's a little bit of that. I mean, we took a little bit of liberties and certain things as well there too. But yeah, we kind of followed what the characters were all about.
That is fabulous. Yeah. That is so. You guys were the bookers.
Yeah, we were the bookers. Yeah, it was really.
This is awesome. We're talking with the booker.
We also had custom theme songs we had for everybody too. That we had. I mean, we did everything with this. It was pretty wild that we were able to pull this thing off. Yeah.
Now, did people know when they were coming to the event that this was going to happen?
Oh yeah,
because you'd want to promote that because I think
the Kickstarter and everything. Yeah,
we did the Kickstarter. It was
also a year.
Obviously,
it took those guys a year to put this thing together.
Yeah, we had a year planning.
That sound about right, Todd?
What was the crowd must have went in, because these people love this game, and now, like you said, you get to see it like a lot. You're there for a live action movie, a play. You're there. You get to see. I have a few because the other cool thing is when you buy a Filsinger Games set, they give you like 2 freebies, and I have some Legends of Champions of the Galaxy. Yeah. But you get this. We'll just assume. Let's pretend Dan Spivey. But you get to see your character. Really, the character you play on your tabletop.
Yeah, we always wanted to see it in real life. It was part of the weekend was the 25th Galacticon, so we wanted to do something big to celebrate the big 25th Galacticon, and that it just kind of seemed like the right thing. So
let me get to the chat. I want to say hello to some people, but let's get to.
There's
you can actually watch the event. You can actually watch the event on YouTube too. I can see if I can give you a link to that. Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay, we're gonna have to. I'll find Dave.
There's a trailer for it, and then you can actually watch the whole event on YouTube too.
I like to put that up on the page later.
We even got like special effects. So Santos comes out of this wormhole portal, and Star Warrior like flies out of the sky and lands in there. Yeah, we tried to really go for it.
So the other cool thing about that, another one of the most passionate players of Legends and Champions is the guy who was the ring announcer for Chikara, Loud and Noxious.
He was Gavin Loudspeaker, I think he was called.
Yeah, Gavin Loudspeaker, Loud and Noxious, whatever name he goes by. But he is a unbelievably entertaining ring announcer, and he also loves the game. And so he just poured himself into the role of being the ring announcer, and all the controversies going around, and his eyes are as big around as saucers saying, Thanos is coming, Thanos is, and you can see him kind of living vicariously his childhood dream as being the ring announcer. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was watch the video. It is something else. Yeah.
How better to sell your you gave now you got the Kickstarter. You raise the money, but you're really giving back to the fans of the game, because I don't even play that game. And I'm just all excited just to hear that. I wouldn't have known that had not Dave told that story.
Yeah.
And this is why, again, we do these things, because I like to learn. But
just and we did even little touches. We had one of the matches had an alien referee. We had 2 commentator tables. We had the English commentary and we had the alien commentary booth.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, so I mean, we wanted to go all out on this.
That's great.
Yeah, it was
so
really
we were
fun.
discussing offline how you like the comedic wrestling, and some people
yes.
don't. Now, what got me back into wrestling, I should have worn my Danhausen shirt, but it's Danhausen.
Love that Danhausen.
You want. Yeah. I went back and I looked. The gentleman can actually wrestle.
Yes.
He can do certain moves. Now, he's about 175 pounds, I think.
I don't know. He's announced as over 300 pounds. When
that's the picture. But he is a brilliant marketer. The ability to sell himself. And the fans, I was in Worcester. Nurse Teresa and I were live in Worcester
Wow. How'd you get Nurse Teresa to go to the matches?
Much bribery. No.
Okay.
She has fallen. Okay. Nurse
You're
Teresa's favorite wrestler, along with young Wyatt, is Warlow. Nurse Teresa's second favorite wrestler is Danhausen. It's a close second. I love Danhausen. Yeah. I came across, I didn't know who it was. I listen to Jim Cornette. I like Jim Cornette. Don't agree with everything he says, but I like Jim Cornette. He can be kind of prickly, polite term. But Danhausen did like a call-in, like he left a message, and it was, who is this guy? It was hilarious. So I looked up online, and I'm watching this thing, and he does toy hunts and this and that, but the fans, you want to talk about, and again, people say, oh, it's stupid. Listen, you had, and I love the honky talk man, so I don't mean it. You've always had a certain type of, not necessarily honky talk man was comedy, but he was a little over the top kind. You've always had that in wrestling. And go back to the glory days. Didn't they have some guy wrestle as a mummy? I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah. Like they did. And Moondog, Rex, and Spot, parts unknown. I'm sure they know what litter they came from. Come on.
You're right.
But Danhausen, he came out, the crowd pops. And that's what wrestling is about, giving the crowd what they want and then surprising them. Then Hook comes out after. Now, the Danhausen Ricky Starks match was quick, but it was fun, right? And then Hook comes out, wins, and then Powerhouse Hobbs turns out. That was the surprise. But anyway, highly recommend it. But the comedic, I don't want to see all comedic wrestling, right? But if it's well done, it's enjoyable. Yeah. That's what brought me back to wrestling. That's what brought Nurse Teresa, who never watched wrestling really in her life, knew about like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, because in this area, about Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Bruno Simmer.
Cultural icons.
Your brothers watched, or you know what I mean? People watched. It's fun. And I'm happy about that. Wrestling's fun.
I'm all for everybody kind of finding their type of wrestling that they enjoy. Listen, I enjoyed a lot of the more comedic and a lot more high flying. Like what got me into like the next level of being a wrestling fan was when I discovered Chikara, which is
that more lucha libre, like high?
Kind of
I've never watched
it. There was a comic. Basically, there's a comic book in real life. You talk about comic book wrestling.
Yeah.
That is comic book wrestling. So like they have like the ants are the big ones.
The ants,
the fire ant, like the colony there was big. Eddie Kingston came from there. Huge Eddie Kingston came for a while. Yeah. Brody Lee was from there.
Brody Lee's the gentleman who passed away. Correct.
Passed away.
Right.
Yep.
That's
Bryce Remsburg was the head referee there before he went to AEW. Chuck Taylor, was a big part there. It was headed up by Mike Quackenbush, and he definitely he played a couple of different roles, a lot more comedic roles too. So a lot of times you'll have different guys in masks that were maybe kind of playing some more fun things, but then they come out in the other ones and they do more, serious stuff in there too. It's always a good mix. They would mix in like British style wrestling. They mix in a lot of different Japanese talents that would come in, Joshi talents, like introducing a lot of Joshi wrestling into the United States. It's just a great mix of kind of like everything there. And that's really kind of what got me into that. And a little bit, a lot of that spirit of Chikara is kind of living on now in AEW, which is why I'm a big fan. I mean, if you can see behind me,
that is
really
cool.
Tell. That's my AEW arena behind me here.
That is awesome.
Nice.
I'll tell you, we Nurse Teresa, it was my birthday gift, so she went all out. We got the extra $50 VIP thing for each of us. Well worth it again if you're able to. The spread they put out, like we were going to go out to eat. It's like, yeah, they're probably going to have and she's like, no, let's go. People came in, they were pissed because they spent like $130 at, the pizza place near there, which I can't think of it.
Okay.
Uno's. And then they had a raffle. It was fun, but they had a little ring, like where they had everything set up, and it was just so cool. AEW to me, and we'll get back to, Pops Reviews says, Todd, do you guys feel the need sometimes to complete teams? I mean, like tag teams, Big John Studd, Bundy, or Sabu and RVD?
Yeah, we definitely looked at. I mean, there is a Sabu card. Unfortunately, we don't have. We were able to do the first original black and white. We haven't gotten permission to do the new color version, but that's definitely one we want to do. Where we can, we'd love to do it. You know, sometimes we might even like hold out a guy if we're like hopeful to get like a partner if we can. So yeah, it does happen sometimes if it makes sense. But then some other times it kind of makes sense. Like we did, you know, Tully Blanchard. We wanted to put a Tully Blanchard card out, even though we weren't able to do it Arn Anderson. You know, sometimes you just kind of like, you know, you want to put out a game. I mean, even though a lot of these guys have singles career too. Like, you know,
Yes.
we did the Bundy obviously had a big
Tully
singles career,
Blanchard,
not just tag.
I believe was a TV champion for life when I was watching. I think it was, it wasn't WCW yet, but I used to love that. That was one of the, and I never heard of the TV champion until like cable came about, right? I'm
Yeah.
sitting there going,
Yeah, that's what
TV
came, yeah.
champion, right? You know, and I'm sitting there going, I love it. This is brilliant. TV time limit. I'm like looking at the clock. There's 3 minutes left in this show. You know, it's like-
Yeah.
So they come back and Blanchard lost, but he didn't lose on TV. So he holds it. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was great. The studio shows. And again, that was weird to me. I never saw a studio show. Then I
because
got
WWF didn't do that. They did it still in kind of like a little bit of an arena. Yeah.
because they were just recording and then putting it. But the studio show, I learned to fall in love with them, and I enjoyed them. They were squash matches, most of them. They give you 1-2 decent matches.
Yeah, maybe
but
one
whole
competitive match.
They literally, they're in a TV station and they're taping a studio show. So
Yeah.
well,
that was a different era, because back in the day, when the territories were big, the whole purpose of the TV show was to convince people to come to the arena.
To go to the
because the arena shows are where they made their money.
Yeah.
Now it's just the opposite. They make all their money off the TV, so everything important happens on TV, and then the house shows are just local entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where you get to see like more of the big matches and stuff like that. At least, this guy's feuding with this guy. We get to see that match, even though it's not, maybe the one of consequence.
That's the other interesting thing. Going back, I watch a lot of documentaries now, the beauty of YouTube, right? And all these interviews and how they built up things and how they could get, I mean, whether you like Bruno Sammartino or not, Honky Tonk Man tells a really one. He goes, listen, Hogan and Macho Man couldn't sell out the Spectrum, couldn't sell out Boston Garden. And again, those were big Bruno territories. He goes, they had trouble selling out the Madison Square Garden. They did, but they weren't like, he goes, Bruno and myself, right? And I remember some, not necessarily the matches he's talking about, because I would watch the TV matches. And Bruno was like almost 50 or so. He was actually probably 50 years old. And you watch those matches, he actually was wrestling better at that time than at the end of his career where he's all banged up. Because I watch those matches. I go back, I watch a lot of wrestling, old. And I was telling Teresa, I go, I got to find you some of the 60s. It's tough to find some of that footage. But then I showed her some of the stuff when he came back when he didn't want to. It was because David, his son, wanted to break in. He goes, okay, I'll come back because David wants to break in. Very interesting story. His whole life story is incredibly interesting. And some people, he wasn't boring, in my opinion. Okay, that's just my opinion. You watch some of those matches with him and Randy Savage and him and Honky Tonk Man. They go about 10 to 12 minutes, but they're very entertaining. He's doing good stuff. He can't do everything like he used to, but Honky Tonk Man, I found it on YouTube. He goes, there's one from the Spectrum. He goes, you can find it on YouTube. He goes, the picture quality's not really good, but you watch when the fans are just right on top, and it's like, holy cow. He goes, we sold out. And some of the wrestlers didn't like to wrestle Bruno, and he didn't want to do it anyway. But he said Bruno was always good to him. He says, what do you want to do? Okay, we're going to do this. He goes, Bruno let me call the match to a point. We knew how it's going to end already. He goes, I had no problem with him. He goes, I made money. He made money. And we sold out. And that's what wrestling's about. But yeah, I just wanted to say it's just fun that, I guess my point being is, some of these guys who used to wrestle, and again, I like Jim Cornette. I'm just saying he's constantly bashing wrestling. He likes FTR. I love FTR.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette's also a character too.
Yes.
And he's
one of my
he's
favorite
living wrestling. He's playing to his fan base.
It's
fine.
The Midnight Express and Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
I love them. I like Jim Cornette.
I could listen to Jim Cornette tell stories about the 80s all day long.
I do.
But then once he starts on modern wrestling and once he starts on religion and politics, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I used to agree, and there's still some things. I think there's too much, just me, a little too much high flying, because I kind of want a little bit of sense in wrestling.
Sure. Then I can definitely appreciate that. Although I'd still love to see what the acrobatics people are going to do. Yeah,
I can take the high flying. Please cut back some of the false finishes that drive me nuts. 40,000 finishing moves.
Well, there's high flying, which is great, and then there's the stupid spot where everybody in the match goes and stands in a circle and looks up and waits for the guy to come off the top turnbuckle and do.
No, I can appreciate that.
And that's just silliness.
Has explained it much better.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. If you get the guy on the top, the turnbuckle, and you can move it quickly and safely, right? I don't want to see no one get hurt. You do it. When the guy sits there and it's like you're counting, wow, that's 23 seconds, it seems, to set up that move. There's no one who's going to sit there. And sometimes they realize they can't do the move. And this I actually like, where they start doing, okay, we can't do the move. Or a guy misses it. And the announcers call, well, he couldn't do the, like the guy countered or he didn't do it right. But yeah, it's a false starts. Right. That's about it.
Or when the guy coming off the top turnbuckle is the referee.
Yeah.
I've seen Bryce Remsburg do that before. Just as
that was one of my favorite spots. Like, one time he did it. Like, two guys went outside. And he started counting him out, and then people kept on diving over, and he had to restart the count. And eventually got so pissed off, he just ran and dove on top of everybody else, and then he started counting.
I've never seen it. The other thing with AEW, which is funny, someone goes, "There's never a count out," which I've never seen a count out. And there's no disqualification.
There was one.
You've seen one?
There was one. It was part of maybe two. It was part of a storyline, though. Yeah.
But I think
MJF got counted out one time. Yeah, definitely.
Now, here's the thing I love about AEW. I like that they have finish, 1, 2, 3. It's not always, even when the bad guy cheats a little bit, he still win. I like that. I want to see them win. I don't want to see the guy cowering. That's the one thing with Superstar Billy Graham, who I love. I love Superstar Billy Graham. When you go back, you watch him like, this is a big guy. I don't know how much he'd be really cowering. Yeah. And I get it. It's a shtick. I'm sorry. It's a shtick that the heels do. So there's certain things I like. Okay, I like these, whether it's and I don't watch much WWE. I like Roman Reigns. I like the Usos. Is it McIntyre?
McIntyre, yeah.
Bobby Lashley. Guys like that I like. Neil, what are you doing? Thank you. You don't have to do that. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Neil's a Filsinger Game regular. Hey, Neil.
Thank you, Neil. Greatly appreciated. God bless. You just watch. Let the commercials run, I always say. I want their money, not yours. Anyway, thank you very much, Neil. Awesome, my friend. I like FTR a lot, and because they do old school, and they mix in the new school, and I think AEW is getting a little more like that. I've watched enough matches that they've, I'm like, I like this a lot.
It's I don't watch. There's definitely an old school feel to it.
Yeah, I like FTR, and I like what Regal and Danielson and Moxley are doing with their Combat Club.
I like the combat. I'll tell you something. Roosh, fabulous. We watched it live, and we're sitting there going, you watch on TV, and you sit there and go, wow. You go live, and you see again, that's where I'm sitting there going, that high flying. And then there's the other young kid. Oh, God. Martin.
Oh, Dante Martin. Yeah, that guy. I don't know how he manipulates gravity. It's crazy.
Top rope, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it. Balanced himself. It was him and Sammy Guevara had a heck of a match. Yeah. Sammy Guevara is one of the best heels. He comes out. He kisses Ty Conti. The crowd is screaming and booing. He's like,
yeah. Well, at first they were trying to push him as still being a babyface, and then it was like, no, like they're like hated heels. Come on. And eventually they're like, all right, they're heels.
Then one more thing about the Chris Jericho is amazing because he played the crowd. The crowd, Teresa noticed it, and we were talking about it before we went to Worcester. He's a heel now, and he's pretty much been a heel his whole career. He kind of teeters a little bit, right? But he's usually a heel, leans to the darker side. Yeah. The crowd wants to cheer for him no matter what he says. They're singing his song.
Well, they always sing his song, and now they have to cut off the song.
Yeah, because but now he comes out, he does a thing with, which would have been last Wednesday. Because we're at last Wednesday's show, and the crowd still wants to cheer for him. So now he's destroying everyone in Worcester, and So at the end, I said, Teresa, we got to stay to the end because even when the show goes off air, something's going to happen to him. He gets, he comes out, he starts blah, 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 and they, they DDT him or whatever the hell they did. It was hilarious, but he is awesome.
I'm bummed I had to miss that Worcester show. I'm only not too far away from there.
Oh, I again, if you like wrestling, it was so much fun.
I've been to a couple of AEW shows. They're some of my favorite shows I've been to in a while. Yeah.
The atmosphere. Then I got to see Claudio Castanoli, one of the most underused wrestlers in WWE.
Another former Chikara guy. That's where I first followed him there. Too.
And I have his card because I picked up a lot of those sets because now what they're doing with him, and we'll get back. I'm sorry, I went off to talk wrestling. We'll get back to Filsinger. What I think they're doing with him is brilliant because you've got your ultimate good guy who can still be a badass, who can still be tough. And the crowd wants to love him. They never want to see. I think originally he was like a heel, like a tag team heel with somebody way back when. But the crowd, and he's freakishly strong. You can actually go on YouTube. I want to say the guy's name was El Gigante or the Giant or whatever the hell his name was. He literally, and again, the other guy has to cooperate. I get that, but you still have to pick the guy up. And I get the thing when you spin, you still have to do it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
He's just free. But yeah, he was great. The crowd popped for him. He gave a great little speech. And Wheeler Yuta, who I never thought they could build up for the crowd to amazingly love him.
Yeah.
But it's because of the Blackpool Combat Club, which is Moxley's wonderful. Danielson lost. I was in shock.
Yeah, that was a shocker when he lost to Garcia.
If you watched on TV or there, it made sense. It made sense.
100%.
He played up the concussion. And again, he played up the concussion. But anyhow, I digress as usual. But that is awesome. We all went off. I went off on that when I found out we have a booker. Todd Joerchel.
I've booked 2 wrestling shows, so that's the extent of it. What was that?
Tell me about the second one.
Oh, the second one was actually the next year after that. That was in Cleveland. It was the Wrestling Geek Fest. You were there for that, Dave.
I was there. You
won the Galacticon Cup.
That was the year I won the Galactic Cup. Yeah.
So that one I got a little ambitious, and we were trying to bring wrestling, kind of like more like wrestling pop culture stuff. So it was like Wrestling Geek Fest, I call it. And so we had all like different historical video game systems and all the wrestling games on that, like the original NES Pro Wrestling, along with like No Mercy on like the Nintendo 64 and a couple other ones that you could play that. We had wrestling shows 2 nights with the AIW out in Cleveland. And then the Saturday night I booked a show, which was kind of a mix of different things. We also had stand-up comedy and a night of improv comedy as well, all wrestling themed stuff there. Plus a couple other events throughout the weekend. And we did incorporate the Filsinger Games tournaments and stuff in that weekend too. But the show I put on there was kind of an interesting mix of different ones. The main event was Eddie Kingston against Moose, but we had
what is Eddie Kingston like? Because
Eddie Kingston's he is absolutely hilarious. That guy. He is he was the MVP of the weekend. We actually in the Saturday afternoon we had a student show, right?
Yeah.
And in the student show, we didn't have anything officially for him. He was just there hanging out because he was at the show the night before where he wrestled his girlfriend. And then he was the next night in the main event. So in the student show, he just comes out, one match, he just goes and becomes the ring announcer. Then the next match, he was the referee.
Mhm.
Then the next match after that, he was the timekeeper. And then the next match after that, he was the commentary guy. And then he did something else in another one too.
Yeah.
Like he just kept on like just crazy. And then in the improv thing, he just like completely like killed everybody. Like that guy is so
and when he
freaking
wasn't
talented.
doing stuff in the ring, he spent about 3/4 of that weekend playing the video games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's all he wanted to do was go
great.
play the old video games.
Yeah.
He is great on the mic.
Yeah.
It took me a while to turn around with it because I was like, I don't know if I really care for his shtick. But then I'm like, wow, he gives a good match. He's great on the mic.
Yeah.
Bleacher Bums Gaming Anthony says FTR and the Briscoes had that hour match was amazing. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get that one. It was up on YouTube. I made the mistake of, I'll watch it later, and it got yanked out. I was like,
that was the same exact time as the Hall of Fame banquet out in Iowa. They had the same exact time, so we had to miss the whole thing, unfortunately. So
because that was in Lowell.
Yeah, that was nearby too. Yeah, another one I could have made, but yeah, I was unfortunately in the Midwest instead of the
funny
Northeast.
You say that because Nurse Teresa goes, "You want to go?" I go, "We're going Wednesday."
Yeah.
Now I regret.
So how far apart are you now, Al? You're Boston, or you're Worcester, or you're
West? We're near Springfield.
Springfield. Okay, yeah, I'm down in Fairfield County, Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
So how far apart are you guys?
Probably what, about an hour and a half, something like that. Yeah.
I didn't even know you're in. Well, because yes, when I see stuff, it's from Connecticut.
Yeah.
So.
Technically, I have an office in Stamford, and I pass by the WWE headquarters there on my way to work and whatnot. Although
we got to have a gathering up there. Get
one of the
community and the
Filsinger
crowd together and just have a party.
I want to do a New England one of these Galacticons one day for sure. Yeah. Yeah, we've been kind of traveling around. So we used to always do the summer convention in upstate New York, Jamestown. That's where Tom Filsinger lived. We did that for 25 years, and then we've been kind of moving it around. So that's why we did in Cleveland, Pittsburgh, a couple in Philadelphia area. Mm-hmm. This year we just did out in Chicago, just to kind of do something Midwest. But yeah, I'd like to have it up in New England at one point, just to kind of get some of the folks there involved. We're talking about maybe going back to Jamestown and Buffalo in 2 years, kind of back to for 35th anniversary there.
Pop's Review says, "Thank you for the online experience, Todd, at Galacticon. Mr. Little, you are a class act gentleman."
All right. Thanks, Pops. Yeah, so actually that's another interesting thing. So within the last 2 years, so
you've done the online. I saw that. I didn't
online, yeah. So So in 2020, we had Galacticon originally set for Chicago, and obviously, we couldn't hold it. We had to, cancel the in-person event, and we're like, well, can we do this online? And so, we kind of figured, okay, we can kind of do the tournaments through the online system. We could, we started using Zoom for a couple of things. So we wound up doing all the panels and stuff through Zoom, and it was a big success. And so ever since then, we've been doing quarterly online conventions. So we do one in October, a big kickoff in January, and then one in April. And then the last 2 years we've been doing, along with the in-person Galacticon, we've been able to have virtual people attend virtually too, which has been great.
I regret not doing the online, because I saw that and I was like, I kind of want to do it, but I don't know if I'm going to be around. I could be doing so. I was like, now I regret that, because I've read how many people had such a good time, even on obviously there who went, but online. And we
try to make it a good experience. Even then, we have exclusive cards, and even if you can't be there online in person, if you want to sign up and get whatever the exclusive cards, you can do that too. And that's obviously been very popular the last couple of years too.
Great question here, because I kind of was going to ask this too. DG Sports Patrol question for Todd.
Yes.
Do you ever reprint sets that are sold out? That's a great question, because I was going to come up. There's some sets that are really cool. They're not there.
Yeah. So we do reprint certain sets that are sold out. So any of the black and white sets, we're no longer reprinting any of those.
Understandably.
So yeah, it isn't there. We're now everything in color there. We do, if something sells out with some of the legend sets, we will do a reprint of that, and sometimes with that, we might even do some stat corrections on that and mark it as a new version.
Like King Kong Bundy.
Yes,
sold out.
That one was a limited edition numbered card,
okay.
And so that was another thing. We don't want to reprint something that is a numbered.
Yep, I have 2 of those. I think Greg the Hammer, the one I have, is limited. And Brutus the Barber is limited.
Yes.
Okay, that I understand. Okay.
Yeah, so we don't want to reprint those exact words. We do have a separate version of like the Valentine and the Beefcake and like a little bit of their Dream Team time, because I think the other one we had was kind of more of their later versions of them.
Yes.
As far as Bundy, that is sold out, but maybe in a couple months you might be able to do something different now.
Got it. I'll wait then. I'm not going to get the black and white one then. Thank you on the heads up.
But certain other sets, so some of the indie sets we have done some reprints on certain ones, some more popular ones there, but certain other ones that get sold out, some of the smaller promotions we've done stuff for, we don't reprint those. The Champions of the Galaxy stuff, we try to keep at least a lot of the color Champions of the Galaxy stuff intact, so everybody can kind of stay up to date with that. So
Carl Zilla says the online cons have been great.
And Carl's been a great part of those online cons, I'll say.
Yeah, because some people can't get out there, regardless of you can't get there.
Yep, absolutely.
DG Sports Patrol, Beyond Wrestling.
That one we had. That one sold out.
So what is he? I'm sorry, I don't know what he means. What is he? Is it a set?
Beyond you should know Beyond Wrestling because they're New England based. They're New England biggest New England independent promotion.
You're the Independents. Okay, I got.
They actually do a lot of their shows out of Worcester, Massachusetts. But we did do a set with them a couple of years ago. It sold out earlier this year. There is some interesting guys in there. Like there is a Johnny Silver card. There is Santana and Ortiz back when they were Angel Ortiz and Mike Drastic, I think.
Drastic, yeah.
Drastic, yeah.
Now I did not know that. I didn't realize how many local independents are. They used for the squash matches on Wednesday, the ones they show on YouTube. They used a ton of local wrestlers.
Oh yeah, that's what they always do, which is great.
I realize and I think that's cool.
Yeah, there's some of the guys they bring in for that. I mean, it's like, oh my god, that's like what a guy I really like on the Indies, and he's doing that. Yeah, Deanna Parazzo, Jordan Grace, they were both in that set too. So that's one. It's like, all right, because we're trying to make sure that some of the indie sets that we have, like some of the Ring of Honor sets, we've done like a big long line of those Shimmer sets, stuff like that. We want to make sure we kind of have those intact best we can. Beyond is one of we had sold out of like the AIW, like the big Cleveland based set. We're not reprinting that one. Beyond we might. I'm not quite sure about that one yet. It hasn't, it's sold okay, but we'll see. Some of those guys definitely could appear. Like I know we're definitely in need of a Jordan Grace update big time. So like we could see a new version of her card in the future for sure.
I've kept you a long time, but I want to ask a couple more questions.
That's okay. I'm still good to go.
Okay. No, I forgot. I'll go to Dave Little and then also Todd. Dave, you run wonderful, wonderful cards on your channel. And I remember. What is your favorite storyline, Dave, that you've come up with? Because that's fun. And what's your favorite storyline with the Galaxy? I was gonna say Guardians
Champions of the Galaxy.
Well, yeah, sorry.
Can I have two?
You can have whatever. I say what is, you tell me your favorite ones.
So years ago,
yes,
I used to play my Fed in a group with other guys, and we would kind of split up. I'm going to take this group of wrestlers. I'm going to take this group. Were you doing
like little territories?
Yeah, we'd have like little territories, and we would trade stuff, and I had the Japanese group in my Fed with Inoki and Giant Baba and Ricky Dozan, and they were
Baba, that's a good one.
They were my group, and one of the other guys really wanted to use the Japanese guys. Trade me the Japanese guys. Trade me the Japanese guys. Okay, I'll trade you the Japanese guys for whatever. And so he sends me back in this trade King Kong Bundy, one-man gang, Warlord.
Yep.
Um,
He was like a
and
version of the Road Warriors, right? Was he the painted guy? Painted up
no,
a bit?
he was just a big, huge, bald bodybuilder. He was
Okay,
part of the
okay.
Powers of Pain, Warlord and Barbarian.
That's what I'm thinking of, Barbarian. Okay.
And so basically all the guys I'm getting back are these huge 400-pound dudes.
Thumpers. They're thumpers.
They're thumpers. And
Yep.
plus I get Don Leo Jonathan, and I'm like, how am I going to make a storyline with all these guys?
John
So
Leo
I made them all
Jonathan
into a
from Utah,
unit,
right?
and I called this unit Wide Load. So my wide load unit was a lot of fun, and Warlord became the he would come and steal the mic and do ring announcing. He would just stand by the ring and announce matches. You know, he'd take the announcer the microphone away from the ring announcer, and you know, he was 400 pounds. You know, and nobody was going to tell him otherwise. And so he was the ring announcer. Bundy was always playing pranks on people. One man gang was the ladies' man. He would run around and hit on the girls at ringside. And
that is awesome. You created a different persona.
Yeah.
I love it.
And Don Leo Jonathan became Junk Food Jonathan. He would come out to the ring and throw Twinkies and ho-hos and
to the crowd.
You know, stuff out to the crowd as part of the wide load gimmick. And we just had so much fun with that. And Andre the Giant was a heel, and Junk Food Jonathan kept giving junk food to Andre the Giant and turned him face, and he became part of the wide load. So stuff like that is what makes it fun, that you can do stuff with. And the more recent one I did was you remember a tag team called Too Cool?
Yes.
Scotty Too Hotty.
Was it Scotty Too Hotty? And
yeah.
the guy who did the worm? No, he was the guy who did the worm.
He did the worm.
Grandmaster Sexay was his partner. So I had them out there.
Or whatever the hell they're called.
And then somehow I got them connected with Hillbilly Jim. And so now Hillbilly Jim's dancing the jig in the ring, and Too Cool's dancing around with him. Hillbilly Jim has a match scheduled with Great Muta. And Great Muta wants to come out and dance too. And he doesn't want to, blow the smoke. He wants to come and dance. And now I've got Great Muta in the ring dancing around with Hillbilly Jim and Too Cool, and had a fun little faction with
that's awesome.
With that group for a while. So yeah,
that is awesome.
Just random stuff,
but that's fun. Because
I run my Fed like it's a true sporting event. There are tournaments, there are champions, there are legitimate competition. It's not just all storyline driven, but sometimes just an idea hits and you run with it, and it's that's spontaneous, awesome. And it makes the whole thing fun.
DG Sports Patrol, Dave Little, you made Strangler Lewis hardcore, remember?
That I did. And actually, yeah, that was a whole nother storyline, because we were getting all of these great legends, from the Hall of Fame sets.
Yeah.
And I wanted to set up a new territory just for the legends. So I set it up, and it's like this rogue territory, and they would come in and they would beat up the indie guys, or the they came down to Florida and they beat up the Florida wrestlers. Billy Graham was actually wrestling in Florida, and I wanted to send him north, so he did a big heel turn and he attacked all of his former territory mates and brought in Strangler Lewis and John Pescick and some of these other guys, and they just did a big beat down on the Florida crew. So that's where that came from. It was fun.
Yeah, so that was all part of we did a vintage set last year, which was guys from like the early 1900s, and with that had another set of alternate charts. I don't know if you've seen this yet, Al. It's Legends Series 7, which was the vintage one, and that was like much more around the kind of like more true grappling style and stuff. So there wasn't high flying stuff.
No,
so
right.
Yeah, things like that. And actually, I know Sam mentioned on the podcast.
You want me to go? You want me to go to the Filsinger site? Can we? Is it?
Yeah, we can go there if you want. Well, I just want to mention. I know Sam from our podcast. I know some of the other guys who Legends were mentioning that they're kind of putting together now more of a shoot fight type of a style of wrestling. So yeah, there's the alternate charts there, that where they bring in like a lot of the guys with the legitimate wrestling background and some of these vintage guys to kind of have like much more, old school like style wrestling and not modern style, which is kind of fun.
What set is that? Can we
That's
find it?
Legends Series 7. So if you go into the games, and then go to Legends of Wrestling, and you see Legends roster to the right there, just click on that, and that'll list out. There you go. That'll list out all the guys by set. So if you scroll down a little bit, it has.
I've looked at this a lot.
Yeah. Okay. All the colored ones are at top. If you go to set 7, expansion set 7, that's the vintage one we were just talking about there. And then with
I
that,
have this set. I just picked this set up.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, that one's really great. So a lot of times we have like a loose theme around a lot of the expansion sets. Like number 1 is more tag teams. Number 2 is a little bit more guys from the South. 3 is a little bit more guys from the Midwest. 4 is more hardcore. 5 is a lot of 90s based guys. 6 is more your Northeast 80s kind of theme. 7 was that vintage. 8 was our Memphis one. 9 is a kind of
that's Austin Idol, I think.
Yeah, Austin Idol's in that one was number
Memphis,
8.
Yeah,
Memphis one there.
I should go. I left the thing.
And then number 9 we just released early this year. That was much more like 50s and 60s era wrestlers. We did have Sputnik Monroe in that one too.
Yeah.
And then we did announce at Galacticon this year that Legends 10 coming out this December is going to be kind of back in the Northeast, but it's going to be a little bit more early focused. I mean, it might be a little bit more 70s kind of era focused, maybe 70s, early 80s, stuff like that.
Quick question after I read, and then you have to tell me your favorite storyline.
Sure.
But Joseph Hinkle, I listened to Dave Little YouTube matches on my way to work, been a Filsinger fan since 2003. I tell you, that's the beauty of it. Again, some people go, "You do what?" I go, "Well, I listen to the, because I a lot of times when I do watch, I listen to YouTube. I might be playing a game, but I'm listening, and I can envision whatever wrestlers are being, whether it's Carl Zilla or Pop's Review or Uncle Dave Little, as I like to call him. To me, it's fun. That's like with any sports sim. I visualize it in my head. So whether it's a PC game or card and dice, regardless of what game you like to play, but we're talking Filsinger Games, highly fun, highly addictive in a good way. I recommend it. Thanks to Dave Little. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things listening, because I'm like, man, I haven't heard that name in years, or I kind of know this guy, but I don't because it's old school. Let me look it up.
Yeah, that's the best thing. I think there's so many guys that, I know I've only learned of, through here, like guys like, that one, like the Great Gamma, like what a great story behind that guy. Amazing. Like,
and
the French Angel, stuff like that, just some amazing stories that you hear about that I just had no clue about.
I know I talked about this real quick before, but the Brilliance is also, this is the newest set for Legends, Hall of Fame 3. But you can read the history about them, a little bit of a history in case you didn't know, and it gives you a little flavor for the background. And again, I like to come up with my own crazy storylines. So what was your favorite? Doesn't have to be one.
I'm kind of mention one that happened, champion. So just you kind of mentioned the books there. So at the beginning, every Champions of the Galaxy set comes with a book that's probably at least 4 times that size of the Legends book, and has a very detailed story, and then kind of updated bios and stuff with everybody. But there's kind of like ongoing progression of the storylines, right? Okay. And a lot of times I like to, not everybody, as we say, plays by the book. I like to play by the book. So you kind of get like the setup at the beginning of the year. Yep. Kind of play it out. I tend to kind of stick with pretty much the alignments that Tom has kind of lined up, and maybe a little deviation here or there or whatnot. So I had a big rivalry between 2 guys, Bloodlion and Incubus, who were actually the sons of Star Warrior and Thantos, who were the original good guy and bad guy from the first year. Their sons are now, we were next, although they've both retired now. It's been going on so long, a bunch of guys retire. So there was a whole thing. So they were kind of the big feud that were going on. And I think Bloodline was the champion, and they were set to have at the first big card of the next year, a big, match between the 2 of them. However, in the storyline that Tom wrote, they suddenly a new character came in and brought the two of them together as a tag team. So, kind of going into the thing in there, I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Because I kind of was setting everything up for this big match to kind of start the year for the title. But then, obviously there's this whole wrinkle thing. Like, well, do I have them do the match or what do I do? So I decided in the end, wouldn't it be great if, they say, well, we refuse to fight each other. And instead, then they just give up the title. The Bloodline gives up the title rather than fight the person who he's now in a team with. And so this set also debuted Monolith, who is one of this major character that was kind of foretold beforehand and is like a very, very dominant character still to this day. But the debut of him was this same set. So I, had the title vacated, immediately did a battle royal to crown a new champion. And who comes out the end of it but Monolith. So the first night, this guy comes in as like a big hyped up guy, winds up winning the title, and he wasn't even supposed to be in the title match that night, and just kind of set off like a huge run of him just kind of destroying everybody. I don't think he lost the whole year after that. Eventually he did lose to another guy who was kind of like his big rival after that kind of stuff there. But it was just such a great way of just kind of like figuring out and a lot of this is trying to figure out well, how do you book around these things, whether it's stuff that Tom sets up and that kind of maybe alters what you're going to do, or like an injury happens or a weird result happens. Half the fun is just kind of going well, how do I take this and twist it and kind of make it make sense and work it into the overall storyline? And that's a lot of the creativity. Yeah.
Fun of the game. Especially now, and you're working with a storyline where I just come up with, I want to do this crazy stuff. So is it Tom writes, is he the only writer or
he writes the GWF, which is the main Champions of the Galaxy storyline. So that's been going on since 1987. So or 1986. The first year was 2087 was the first year that the story kind of started in, and now we're in 2138. Just got released.
Now, did you say, if I remember correctly earlier on, did you say you wrote a little bit too now?
Yeah, so there's been some different offshoots of it over the years. So one of the ones has been kind of the one that we're starting to work with now is called FTR. Not that actually it was named before the FTR tag team came around. But
that's funny you say that. That's because I went, they got an FTR set, and I clicked on it and go, I don't know these guys.
I don't know these guys.
Not FTR that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, well, it was kind of a playoff of NXT at the time, kind of next, and this is the future of of the wrestling there. So so these are kind of more lower guys that you can either kind of slot in as your undercard guys in your GWF, or you can kind of run it as its own storyline there. And so that's what we're kind of been running.
That's cool.
That storyline. So.
Thanks for sharing. JT says hello, Al, Dave in the chat. New to Filsinger Games and really enjoy the Legends of Wrestling. It's a fun game. Yeah. I don't know how else to say it.
JT, I think, was part of our. It was definitely in the Galacticon this year, the virtual Galacticon.
It's just fun. Pops review says, Al, your commentary on matches is awesome as well. Love listening to Dave and Carl as well. Imagination is strong in these guys. Yeah, and everyone has their different style. I'm over the top. I'm like,
all right, I like that.
There's a lot of kicking the nuts in my matches. I'm like, kick them in the nuts. Why not? I do. I just, my favorite thing I've done. I'm thinking to myself, I was not a big Bob Backlund fan. Great wrestler. I've come to appreciate more. I've gone back and watched the matches. He obviously he could wrestle, right? And he got better with the mic and stuff. Just came around at the not good to follow Bruno and Superstar, and I'm like, I'm going to do the Von Erichs that, they just hate Bob Backlund, that it's a blood feud. They've had this blood feud. And I had the grandkids come out and power bomb him and everything. And it was just so much fun. You can do whatever you want. And that's awesome. Quick question, because I wrote it down. You're probably going to have to leave soon. I remembered it, see, but I was going to forget because I'm old.
I'm glad you wrote it down, yeah.
Now, you have classic wrestlers. You have guys who are possibly who could really win a wrestling match, like Frank Gotch and Strangler Lewis and the great, those guys in that era. How? Because I'm looking at the cards and you have an Adam Cole, who I like. I like Adam Cole. baby.
Baby.
Again, great shtick. I whatever. And how do you say you're just rating them for what they are now? You're not saying like this era is better than that era, because I'm looking at it and it doesn't seem that way. It seems like you're rating the guys, how popular he is when you did because again, it's going off.
Yeah,
we all know wrestling's fake, people. I get these.
No, not fake. Predetermined outcomes.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
I apologize. You're absolutely correct. But you're doing like super. That's not a good one because that's a bootleg.
But you just say like, guys from different eras. How do you really kind of compare them?
That's the point. Are you skewing? Like if I wrestle an Adam Cole, say against Bob Backlund, in my mind, again, it's just because whatever. I love Adam Cole and his shtick. I think it'd be a good match, but in my mind, and probably Backlund, who has destroyed pretty much everybody because the dice gods are with him, probably would beat him. But does anyone, I guess even in the chat, does anyone go with a home, if you mix eras, do you go with a homebrew rule and just go the guy, do you give anyone an edge?
You can certainly adjust stats with that, with that. I mean, there's definitely certain conversion charts people have done over the years. We try to keep everything kind of balanced out, even with the indies best we can. Sometimes it gets a little tough there, and it's a lot of judgment calls, because there's maybe not as many, back in the territories, there's all these different territories going around. Now there's kind of like the one national company and there's the indies, and how those really kind of stack up is sometimes a little nebulous. But we do definitely try to, kind of, match guys up kind of based on where they kind of were in the overall wrestling scene in that era. So like, if I was to put like if we were to do, say, a Roman Reigns card, I'd probably put him up there, with, Backlund and stuff.
I think you'd have to, because he's been, I mean, you'd have to have Austin the same way. The Rock, probably The Rock, I mean, but
so I mean, it's tough. Maybe that.
But it's fun. Yeah. I was just curious about that, because that's the constant question in any sports sim game. Whether boxing, it comes up a lot, especially with heavyweights, because of the distinct size difference now. Sure. And you got to have a little, just say things are sort of even if you want to do it that way, or not wrestle. Because Carl Zilla has he goes, the question he's asking right now is why I don't mix legends and indies.
Sure.
But again,
I don't think a lot of people do
that's fair. That's a fair point by Carl, because I was thinking about that. Like, to me, Claudio is awesome, so I wrestle him against anybody. I don't care. But other guys, I was just thinking, the Young Bucks. I've come around. I like the Young Bucks.
All right, good.
I've come around.
I've been a big fan for at least a dozen years. It's funny, we first started doing the indies cards back in the.
Because did you ever, when you get permission? That's my terminology. Permission. Are you able? Is it just have you met the Young Bucks? I guess.
Yeah, we have.
How are they? They seem like okay guys.
They're great. I mean, we met them super early on. So there's kind of a funny story. So we first started doing indies cards back in, I think it was 2008. So we were kind of doing one of the Galacticons, I think, in 2007. And CM Punk had just kind of made his way to WWE, and was like, oh man, it would be so cool to have done a card of him, like we didn't, back when he was in Ring of Honor, if we had like indie cards, we probably would have had him in the game. And so that kind of made us think, like, well, maybe we should start looking at doing that. So we did one that was the Legends of the Future, was the first iteration of that. And we had Claudio was in that, and a couple other guys, Chris Hero,
Tyler Black,
he's Seth Rollins now.
Yes, thank you.
So we were doing the second set, and we were kind of like, trying to fill out the roster a little bit. Oh. And one guy, Chris, who was helping out with the games, is like, well, I just got permission from this tag team of brothers who's out in California. They just got back from their first tour of Japan. They haven't really made it to the national scene yet, but they seem like they could be an upcoming guys. These guys, the Young Bucks, I'm like, I've never heard of them before, but they seem like they got a good gimmick. Let's put them in the set. And then we wound up releasing it at the Chikara King of Trios, which is our big annual thing in April. And the Young Bucks were there for that. And it was their first time ever being flown to the East Coast. Their first ever shows on the East Coast was that, and then we gave them their cards there for that. And so it was just kind of wild that they just happened to, we happened to have them in that set, and just where they've gone since there has been.
That's
amazing.
awesome. Again, that's another team the fans want to root for, and they flipped them to heel. Now they flipped them sort of back. I don't know if you watch. It was, I knew Adam Cole was going to, because I watch like the YouTube stuff too, and it gives you like the little background stuff. I'm like,
if you watch the BTE, you need to load some of that, and then you can kind of see what's going to go on.
And he's sitting there and he's watching them talking to Adam Page. He's like, and Teresa comes up. I said, Fish and the other guy and Cole, they're going to turn on the Young Bucks. You watch it. And she goes, how did you know that? I go, I watched that stuff on YouTube. They give you a little background on it. And he's like, God, I'm such a.
There's so many things with AEW I'm able to predict, because like I'm a very analytical guy, and so is Tony Khan. So I can see which ways he's kind of thinking with certain things. Like I remember like the Double or Nothing. I think I predicted every single match correctly. I still enjoyed the heck out of it, but I was able to like, all right, I know who's going to win this. I know how this is going to go. But they pay it off, which is great, which I love.
They're fabulous, highly entertaining. The only thing I think I love Warlow. I think now they're building him up, I think, to fight the Giant eventually. He's going to take on, what's his, oh God, I can't remember.
Oh, the guy with the Saddam Singh there?
Yeah, he's going to end up taking him on at some point. And
I can see that, because he's going to face Jay Lethal next.
First guy. They're probably going to interfere in the match, so on and so forth, and go.
It's tough because he had the whole thing with MJF, and MJF is just so captivating there.
Here's something. I agree with Nurse Teresa. She breaks down things like you do. She watches and she thinks analytically. There's a guy who wears a box on his head, right? So now we've seen him a couple of times. Now we go to Worcester, the guy with the box on his head. On TV, I can't see how big he is. In Worcester, I can see that's a wrestler.
Oh yeah, it's
because
I know who it is. Yeah, they even alluded
who
do
you think it is.
It's Kip Sabian.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Kip Sabian. He hasn't wrestled for a little while. He was around for a while, and I think there's a whole thing with him just kind of not being appreciated or something like that. He's even showed up in the UK. Well, at least
I saw that. I just saw that. I
saw the one with Pac there. And Kip is British now. You could be also having just a random guy with a box on there, right? But the whole storyline is Kip Sabian.
In Worcester, it was a time clock, right? And he kept going timeout, like he's in timeout. She was going, is that MJF? I go, maybe it's MJF in timeout.
No, it's another one with that. But yeah, at one point we'll see MJF again. I think. I don't know. There's the whole thing of really trying to blur the lines between reality. I mean, it's tough these days.
They did a good job with that.
Yeah, kayfabe is tough these days. The old school kayfabe is not it's hard to pull off, but it's kind of like the new school, kind of like incorporating other parts of like social media and stuff like that into it. I think one guy who I'm a huge fan of, who's on the indies now, Matt Cardona. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I know
him.
Who Matt Cardona is.
Big fan of him, and he is great at kind of blending those lines with that.
Yeah. Frank Wayne-Scott, big Legends of Wrestling guy.
Yeah.
Stampede Wrestling set. That's a good one.
That'd be lovely to get. Love to do some Heart members there. I mean, that's definitely one that's been asked for. I think between that and the Von Erich kind of World Class, those are two that I think are probably the most requested these days for sure.
Yeah, but again, you have to get the permission, and you'd be dealing with a lot of like Pat Patterson. That would be the whoever's in. Because he's passed away, Pat.
He passed away. Yeah, he's a trustee now. Obviously, with the Hall of Fame in Iowa, there's Jerry Briscoe, who's kind of like the chair of a lot of that. With us working the last couple of years, he's kind of helped us make connections with different folks. And there's
a great Bradshaw and Briscoe. That's a fun little YouTube channel. They have a lot. They just had Greg Gagne on.
Oh yeah, talking about the action figures and stuff there. Yeah.
And I thought about you guys right away when I let's go back down a little farther. So let's see if there's any more questions here. This has been so much fun.
Oh yeah.
One other thing I figured I'd point out, just when you're kind of talking about the website, there's one other thing. If you're kind of interested. Yeah. So if you want to go back to that, I think it's both off of the Legends page as well as the as well as the Indies page, there's a page on there called Find Your Favorite Wrestler.
Yes, I've used that.
And it's a listing of all of our real life guys, both Legends and Indies. So if you have a question like, oh, is this guy actually in the game? You can find it there. It's under Games, Legends, or Indies. Yeah, say Find Your Favorite Wrestler. There
yes, and this is it takes a second, and it tells you what set they're in.
Yeah,
this is how I initially found the old Antonio Inoki.
Right.
Now is this up to now?
I don't think it's up to date with the latest release, but I think it's up to date as of like at least one of the spring releases. But yeah, I think we have to update it with the latest one. Yeah.
Excuse me. Pardon me.
Yeah. So yeah, we try to keep this updated as best we can, though.
So if you're looking for your favorite, this is a quick way. And again, in the Indies, you do the same thing. You would go to Indie Wrestling, find my favorite wrestler, click on it, and you can scroll down.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yep. Yeah, so you can just go through. I mean, it's such a long list there. Yeah, but if you have a question, it's like, oh, is this guy in there? Take a look in there. We have a lot of guys.
There's Antonio Inoki.
There you go.
And again, it's just me. But this is
the old black and white.
Yeah,
black and white set. Yeah.
Excuse me. But the other cool thing, again, there's merchandise if you're interested in that.
Yep, it's with the promoter there that does. It has his t-shirt store there. So we have our ones for our Galacticon shirt was up there. All of our product line ones, and also for the Roll Up podcast.
So that's cool.
We're looking to add more shirts in there in the future with maybe guys from the Champions of the Galaxy line, nice. Or maybe even some other
Here's
fun
the
designs.
Podcast.
Yep.
So this is your podcast?
This is my podcast. Awesome. There. Yeah. Myself and Sam Fain, we do that. So yeah, we've been going. I think it was maybe about a year and a half or so now. We've been doing it weekly. We try to go around different types of topics. We hit on champion. We do always kind of just start off kind of whatever the latest news is, and then we kind of dig into. Sometimes we'll talk about modern wrestling, but then we'll talk about different topics there, whether it's a champions topic or something in Legends or Indies. Kind of deep diving into a set. Or even just kind of like talking about history of a certain wrestler. And then once in a while, I'll do what we call like a tournament episode. So my nickname in the Filsinger Games universe is the Tournament Master. I take tournaments very, very seriously. But once in a while, we do a podcast there where we'll have on maybe like 5 other guests and 4 or 5 other guests, and we will have a subject and have different matchups, and people will kind of argue one way or another as to which matchup they have. So like I know Dave was on one of the episodes. Was that the Best Legend set episode?
Yeah, Best Legend set.
Yeah. So we had all 8 Legend sets at that point in a tournament, and we voted as to all right, well, Legends 1 versus Legends 8. Which one did you like better? And and everyone kind of does their argument for that, and it kind of goes along in a bracket form, which is a lot of fun. We do that for a lot of Champions of the Galaxy stuff. We've done that also in Indies to help decide what indie card we were going to do. We do. I know we mentioned the Promoter Prime before, which is our quarterly subscription service. So you
now, what exactly is that?
So Promoter Prime, we started a while ago, but it's kind of like a monthly, bonus cards that you get. A couple of years ago, we switched it to now. There are 3 different lines, so you can get Promoter Prime for Legends, for Indies, or Champions of the Galaxy. And what you get is 12 cards over the course of the year, 3 every 3 months. And so the Legends, this one in quarter 1 this year was the Fabulous Kangaroos with their manager, Red Berry. That was a really cool one. Q2, we had a mix. I think that one was more, that was a 3-pack kind of focused on Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So that one had Dirty White Boy, Father James Mitchell, and the Prince Karis, the Mummy that we talked about before. But there's different guys here, and then you can see the listing of all the Promoter Prime cards also on the.
Now, where do you find that on here?
So you can in the shop, it's its own separate area. There's all the different listings of the cards there. I think I kind of think did one of your
right here,
viewers said before,
Promoters
yeah.
Prime. Okay.
Promoter Prime, yeah. So it's the different things. You can either get the online version or the print version. I think we gotta. There's some stuff in the catalog. We gotta do a better job, maybe kind of listing out who you're getting. There is the list of all the cards in the game.
Let's say if I click on the tabletop, is it a list or?
If you go to the games tab instead of the store, and then Promoter Prime card list, that lists all the all the cards for you.
So this lists
this lists everybody that's in each one of the sets for each year. So the 3 different product lines. Before it used to be kind of a mix of everybody, and then in I think in 2018 we started doing specific 12 card sets for each one. That's been very well received. The FTR that I mentioned, the one that we do, kind of like the storyline one that myself and Sam do, is actually part of the Champions of the Galaxy Prime for this year. But there's been other things that we've done within Champions of the Galaxy Indies. We have different themes that might be for the different sets. A lot of times they will also tie to the set that comes out at that same time. So the Indies cards, last year during when we did the big women's Indie set, there was bonus in women's Indie cards. When we did the Memphis set last year, there was a couple extra guys that were more Memphis themed guys. That might be an update. It might be a new guy, depending on what it is.
So it's like a book of the month, sort of.
Yeah, a little bit of like that. Yeah, exactly. So it's a good mix of extra guys. That's maybe guys that are as crucial as in maybe the main sets, but sometimes there's actually some really good guys in there too. Like there's one set we did, 2020. It was Vampiro, Juventud Guerrera, and Conan. We're starting off, so it's a much more of a Mexico lucha based set.
Well, then you got Eddie Gilbert.
Yep, the Gilberts. So we did the Gilberts.
J.J. Dillon, B. Brian Blair, Jim Brunzell. They were the Killer Bees.
They're Killer Bees, and Virgil too. That was when we had our Northeast set. Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah, it's a good bonus one there. So these are extra ones that we have throughout the year. So we if you come in after the end of the year, you get all the cards. But if you kind of get it in the middle of the year, you get whatever cards are released at that point. Plus, every quarter we send out the 3 additional cards per product.
So
I forgot to order mine, so I'm ordering my Champions or my Legends Prime right now as you guys are talking about it.
Oh, okay, great. That's a good. So we've been it's been really well received, especially the Legends Prime has been super popular the last couple of years. And a lot of times we'll also do votes there too. So we'll have a poll up on our discussion board, be like, okay, this month we're gonna do these cards, and let us know what update you want, what jobber guy you want, and what manager you want, and we'll put up a couple of different options.
So in 2021, the legend cards that were sent, if someone had it, Brutus the Barber, Beefcake, Greg Valent, so on and so forth.
Yep. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the set you get for that. So that's the other thing we started doing a couple of years ago, and that's really taken off too. Really gotten really popular. But I think there's a couple of things I think we probably need to do a better job of kind of organizing within the shop. Obviously we all have full-time jobs and stuff like that, so it's sometimes tough to do that. There's some things I'm trying to get off my plate to work on making this even better. But
it's under games.
Yep.
And it's Promoter Prime's list.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Yeah, we'll add the 2022 stuff in there soon as well. Cool. So I'm noticing a couple of things. I'm like, I got to update that too. So, but it's a small but dedicated group that we have that work on the game. We're all game fans first, and we just we like having the experience. And I said, like, a big focus for me has been really all the online interaction. Whether it's doing all those conventions, doing like the Facebook page has been great. Doing the podcast, everyone, I think, just getting people more and more together. And building up the community.
Well, this has been a ton of fun. I just want to get to some questions in the chat.
Sure, let's do it.
And then I swear I'll let you go before wives murder me. JT,
that's right, because we know where you live now.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes, I have 2 very violent dogs, though. They bark a lot. They could be violent. I don't know. JT asks, "What's the best legend set?" He throws it out to Dave because
I was in the podcast where they did the tournament.
Yeah.
And Todd, do you remember which set one? I know my favorite was number 3, which was when they signed Stan Hansen.
Yeah, set 3-1. That's got Stan Hansen, Nick Bockwinkel, and
that's the one out with Bockwinkel and Stan Hansen. Because right.
In my little world, his manager is Christopher Walken.
Yeah, very different. Bruce
Love it.
Dickinson.
Yep. That's a fun set. I have that one. You got Nick Bockwinkel.
Yeah, I mean, you could also put, I'd say, the starter set in there too, just because, just the names and that. I mean, but as far as an expansion,
the starter set is incredible. Oh, let me share this one more thing, and then we'll go back to I should have shown that the starter set.
I mean, that was the one thing we wanted a bunch of big names out there for that, just to kind of
and I like that you did that because it's not like you're getting 2-3 guys and everyone else. Everyone's very cool in the starter set. So the starter set,
games, legends.
Yep, games, legends,
legends roster. Yeah.
Yep, went to the wrong thing. Legends rosters. Here's the legends color starter set. Bobo Brazil, awesome. Bruiser Brody,
amazing,
awesome. Buddy Rogers, I believe the first Nature Boy. I don't know if there's any before, but Kurt Hennig. Gorgeous George, who had one of the best shticks ever.
Yeah.
Harley
inspired by Muhammad Ali. That's right. Yeah. Harley Race, yeah.
Iron Sheik, Jim Duggan, Jimmy Snuka, Lou Thez, Nikolai Volkov, Randy Savage, the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, Rob Van Dam, and Ted DiBiase, $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. That is your starter set.
Yeah.
At a very reasonable price.
Yeah. Yeah, a bunch of bangers in that one for sure. I mean, you got your 2 tag teams with Nikolai and the Iron Sheik. You got the Road Warriors in there, and then just a bunch of main eventers. I mean, and that's what from there, the rest of the expansions has really kind of built it out. I mean, that's a great base to start with, and then it's kind of like, all right, which era of wrestling, what type of wrestling do you really like? That's where you can kind of pick and choose what expansion sets.
Yeah, you have a little bit of something. You have a Hyde Flyer and Rob Van Dam. You have an old school Lou Thez, Buddy Rogers, Bobo Brazil, Gorgeous. Yeah. It's a fun set. So many, and they're all. I think the lowest. Again, the way I rate them, like in my head, is the pin rating.
Sure.
Right.
That's one of the ways. Yeah.
And it's very even. Which and it's funny because I played it a lot to start off with, and the guys I thought who they would win, in my head, pretty much win.
Yeah.
It's really
once in a while I get the upset, which is always fun, but a lot of times
the infamous snake eye roll when you like that's awesome.
Yeah,
and because you can I don't know, I can visualize it. It's a lot of fun. Now let's quickly get back to the chat. Carl Zilla, Big Bully Busick by fan demand.
Yeah, that Big Bully Busick card we did, that was a fan vote. That we had remember last summer. That he won that vote. We did the card there.
This is for Todd from JT. You guys did a great job with the virtual side of Galacon, keeping us involved in things that were happening on site. It was a lot of fun despite being remote. We were talking about that earlier. I don't know, JT. I wish I had participated in that.
Well, there'll be there's more opportunities. I think we'll have our next one in October. That'll be our big kickoff before our holiday sets there. So usually we can have a couple tournaments as part of those, and then we'll have our panel where we're kind of do some announcements of what the upcoming set is for the next release cycle that we do.
Okay. The question that might be asked from me, because people always, are there ever, and again, the prices are very reasonable, but sometimes it's asked, are there any sales? Is that something that
occasionally there is, and then we're going to look to do more of that now. We've had some restructuring kind of going on this summer in the back end with kind of all of us there, so I'm hoping to free myself up more to do a lot more marketing. I mean, the one thing I've been wanting to do is kind of bring back the kind of fan newsletter, so to kind of do an ongoing email newsletter. Cool. That's something I've been wanting to do, just haven't been able to figure out the time for. But as part of that, I definitely want to have different sales going on with that and things like that. So yeah, definitely look out for more. And we did do a Black Friday sale last year. We'll do another one this year.
Excellent. So this year you're going to do a Black Friday sale?
Yeah, we'll do something with Black Friday sale. I think last year we did the black and white Friday sale. So we had sales on anything, old black and white sets.
That's cool.
In particular.
Now, again, to me, this is just my opinion. Price is reasonable. That's all I'll say with that. Pop's review: is there any wrestlers that you thought were overpowered after release, meaning like a little too powerful? That's a great question.
There's certainly been some, probably more, some maybe some more on the indie side. Like sometimes it's tough to kind of predict. There's like, oh, a guy's kind of has this trajectory, but then we do the card, and then maybe they don't quite kind of stay up at that same level.
That's tough on you guys because you're doing the card at a certain point, like you're just saying, and you're thinking maybe he's gonna. If they change storyline, or if the wrestler falls out of favor for whatever reason with the crowd not producing or whatever the company.
I'd say more of that. With the legend side, I can't think of any. I don't know, Dave, if you have any ideas of somebody that might be, just because a lot of times we get a good career knowledge of their whole career and are able to kind of more evenly balance.
Is there and again, there's bootlegs. So like if you want to get jobbers, they're out there.
Sure.
But is there any thought process? Only because Greg Gagne was talking about like the action figures, and they're going to do quote unquote guys who never had an because people, collectors, that's what he said, they wanted it. Is there any thought process of possibly, and to me, like Disco Inferno would be a jobber, because of the rating, and you do have them in there. We
definitely have enhancement guys. We just did a set this year that had the Mulkey brothers and stuff like that. Yeah, we've had a couple guys over the years. Usually in our January virtual con the last couple of years, we've had some enhancement talent. That's been the giveaway. The infamous Nacho Barrera from the Midwest. He was part of one of those Frogman LeBlanc this year. So we definitely try to incorporate some enhancement talent where we can.
Joseph Hinkle, any chance Dr. S will be sold on website? I guess Carl Zilla says it was a con exclusive.
Yeah, con exclusive. We try not to have the con exclusives generally available, but often if you did miss out on one, we try, if you come to another virtual con, we will often make some of those available, usually as part of our fundraising efforts. We'll make those available.
Pop's reviews. Has there been an uptake due to the popularity of the game with people enjoying it?
Yeah.
You don't have to share that. I know.
I mean, I'll say yes. We had a big, pop right at the beginning of the pandemic. Right.
A lot of people did. A lot of
tabletop games, right?
A lot of tabletop games did, and we definitely saw the same thing there too. And we've been kind of able to sustain it, and I think because of all the other involvement we've had, with the things like the virtual cons and other interactive things that we've been adding in, I think have really kind of helped us a little bit more. We don't do a ton of other regular advertising. A lot of times it's grassroots word of mouth type advertising, which we might delve into more stuff in the future. So
hats off to Dave Little. I had never heard of the game. And again, when I see someone doing any type, there's different wrestling games, I'm not going to name them. I play some. I enjoy all my games. So I hate when someone, what's your favorite? The games I play are the games that I like.
Mm-hmm.
It was the artwork. It was brilliant. Now it's addictive. It's so much fun. But I think a lot of it is people just watching people play and saying, well, that looks like fun. And I would ask in the chat, well, what game is this? And, he's Filsinger, and I never heard of Filsinger, and it's just fun. It was the artwork that caught my attention first. Mm-hmm. The ease of play. If I'm watching a game, I go, okay, I get this. You roll the dice, you look at the card. There's like 3 charts. Again, there's slightly more than 3 charts. Not overwhelming. I like that. So,
yeah, easy to pick up.
Here it is. When does Ringside Companion Volume 2 come out?
I know the answer to this. Sometime between 2 weeks and 15 years from now.
That's
excellent.
Right, yeah.
That's like the last Game of Thrones book.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, the first one took a while, but they went through a lot of stops and starts over the years. But there is another one that we want to get. There's a lot of indies special matches. There's kind of like a history of all the different versions of charts and some other things that we want to incorporate, like non-match specific charts. So I always want to get an arm wrestling chart, because they'd always have those weird things, those weird things they build in, building up the big match. We're gonna have an arm wrestling thing before a regular, getting stuff like that in.
That was a superstar Billy Graham gimmick.
There we go. Exactly. So yeah, I think maybe as early as this Christmas, but maybe next year. It really depends on when we have time for everything. So there's a lot going on, including also the development of a Champions of the Galaxy app that I know a couple of us are involved with some of that stuff going on too.
I don't know if Carlzilla, if this goes back to the question of a powerful card, but he says Tommy Rich's black and white card, holy poop. Nope. I don't know. I've never seen it, so I don't know. But I'm sure Carl's still there. Well, gentlemen, I could keep you on until 3 a.m. I've done these before, but I'm not going to do it to you guys. I don't want to be murdered by your wife. Any one last little conversation. What is a wrestling match? Legit, whatever. What would be a wrestling match you would have loved to have seen, whether different eras against each other or just wanting to be there live?
I'll throw one out there just for fun.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of Jon Moxley.
I saw Moxley wrestle.
Yeah, I have been watching him since his very early days in Cincinnati when he was just getting started.
Cool.
I would love to see Moxley and Randy Savage.
That would have been fun.
Just the mayhem and the.
You know what?
Yeah.
With Filsinger Games,
we can do it on the table.
Do it.
See that? There's a promo for
I'll go with anything Macho Man. If you see over my shoulder, that's my Macho Man toy shelf over there.
Nice.
It's kind of hard to see there, but
as I'm pointing, like people can, as I'm right there. I mean, you can see me, but I'm not pointing correctly. I would have. I tell you, I would have liked this for real. I would have liked to have been in the Garden when Bruno beat Buddy Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the atmosphere.
Sure.
Now, and then I would have loved to have seen Ivan Putski and Jon Moxley. I just think it would have been I've actually done the match 3 times.
There you go.
I've done it. I wish, and I might do like one so people can enjoy it. At least I enjoyed it. I just thought I don't know why in my head I go, this would be to me a fun match. It's just because Putski was a pure powerhouse in his day. And Moxley can be a power. Well, he would have been smaller. He could do all kinds of different things, but he's a brawler. I just thought it'd be a fun match, a cage match in my head. I don't have that the volume 1 of the special matches. I got to pick that up. That's the next thing I have to get. So Todd, do you have one or?
Well, I mean, as far as a match that happened that would have been cool. I mean, I remember the Rock versus Hulk Hogan match, just the atmosphere there, just like it would have been cool to have been in that crowd.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Same thing. WrestleMania 3, Hogan and Andre at the
just being in the crowd for something. I say the closest I've gotten to that is just of a wild, just being in the midst of a frenzied crowd was I went last year to AEW Dynamite Grand Slam at the Arthur Ashe Tennis Stadium, and it was Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. And just like how for the first 2 minutes, everyone was just going nuts. And I have a video on my phone of just looking around the whole arena, just going nuts.
I'm going to be sharing some video that I took of that's again. The atmosphere was unbelievable with the fans there.
But this one was even
about 8,000. Frank Wainscott, Tony Atlas color card.
Oh, yeah,
possibility.
I think definitely a good possibility there. The original Tony Atlas card was actually drawn by Tony Atlas.
Drew
so I don't know if he'll do. I don't think he'll do the next one, but
Mark Ferguson, Kurt Angle, and Frank Gotch. That's very interesting.
I like that a lot.
Carlzilla, we rolled Walter versus Lou Thez at my request at last game night.
Yeah, so we did once in a while we do these Filsinger Games nights. That's kind of like a free online event that people can kind of go to. Yeah, and then we just kind of roll out some matches.
Again, I'm new to this. Where would someone like me is that on the Facebook promoter page?
Yeah, so we would put that on the website, and then on the
Okay.
Facebook page and stuff too. Yeah, we'll probably have to do a little bit better job of kind of like putting out the schedule of what we're planning to do with that. But yeah, right now, so we'll kind of get those maybe periodic. I think the plan is to try to get these quarterly conventions there, and then kind of in between the quarterly conventions we'll do a free game night, and that's what we'll do. Some of the matches for FTR that I kind of mentioned that might play into the next storyline in the next set, and then we'll just kind of do open matches and open challenges and stuff like that. That was a fun match though with Walter and
gentlemen,
for sure.
Thank you very much. We went 2 hours. I greatly appreciate it. I'm not going to go
Al.
anymore.
Thanks for the invite.
Thank you, Al.
I'd love to have you both back on at some point in time when you're available.
Sure. Happy to do
it. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I think that the people in the chat enjoyed it, and people who are going to watch later are going to enjoy it. We learned a lot of fun things. I don't know if you should. The whole booking thing with I was going to say Comic-Con. The WrestleCon that you guys Galacticon, sorry. Was fabulous. Great. I'm glad you brought that up, Dave. Well, that was just awesome. That's why we bring Dave to these things. I was telling Nurse Teresa, she goes, why do you have that Cheshire Cat smile? I go, one, I got Todd from Filsinger. I never thought I'd get anyone from Filsinger because it's going to be fun to talk to them. Two, I got Dave Gardner, which means I've got the expert. I could just play off now. This is the way I like to do it.
Dave Little.
Dave Little. I'm sorry. I'm old. I forget things.
No.
It says it right on the screen, though.
I need more coffee. Or is it not coffee? Anyway, Dave Little, Todd Joerchel, thank you very much. Any final thoughts for you, Dave?
We could go another 2 hours, so I'll hold off for another time.
Well, I'd like to have you both on. Remember to check out Dave Little's channel. Link provided in the chat on the page. Uncle Dave Little, thank you very much. Todd, Filsinger Games Group, Legends of Wrestling, the Legends of the Galaxy. I probably
Champions of the Galaxy.
What Todd said. It's right over here. Just look at it, Al. Okay. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Everyone, I think, enjoyed this. I greatly appreciate that you took 2 hours and that your wives let you take 2 hours of your time away from your family. And I think everyone enjoyed it. We learned so much, and there's so much more stuff I want to talk about. I'd love to have you on again. I know I can have Dave Little on again.
Anytime.
I've done it before. But any final thoughts about things you want to talk about? Check out the Facebook. Now it would be the promoters page like I'm on, or is there another?
Yeah, that's the main one that we've set up is Filsinger Games promoters there. Obviously, FilsingerGames.com is the hub for everything. You can get through the podcast from there. You can get to the message board that our discussion board is very active. Lots of great resources there too.
Share the screen one last time before we go.
And I'll also send you the that YouTube channel if you want to check out the Champions of the Galaxy live event. I think that would get a kick out of that.
Check out the podcast, people, and you can just click right here, I guess. Right?
You click right there, or you can search on like any podcast catcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and
the podcast is called Rolled Up.
Roll Up, yeah. So it's kind of a play on, we kind of roll up all the news, and then also one of the terms there is, if you have a certain choice on there, you can roll there, or you can roll up. That's kind of where we got the name from. So.
Awesome. And I forgot to ask you about the online game. That'll be next time.
Then we can definitely go through that. That's another aspect of a way to play. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you to DG Sports Patrol, Mark Ferguson, Carl Zilla, JT, Pops Reviews, Frank Wayne Scott, and many, many others. I don't think I have time to quick. Oh, we got Joseph Hinkle, Bleacher Bums Gaming. Remember, check out Glory Days Boxing, Glory Days Football, SidelineStrategies.com. Great card and dice game. We had Steve Tower, the wonderful Steve Tower from After Further Review, and many, many others. So thank you. Thank you to Dave Little.
Thanks,
Al. To Todd.
Thanks, Al.
Todd, always fun.
Stay safe, be smart, treat people the way you want to be treated. Love everyone. Greatly appreciate your time. God bless. You know what's coming, folks. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.